Hi,
Okay,
Ashley.
cool.
Hi, Renee.
Yeah, hi guys. Oh, very cool. So expression. So I was feeling into how challenging it can be sometimes when we're first starting to like break out of our shell and emerge with our expression in the world, and how that's one of the biggest humps for a lot of people to move beyond. I know it was for me. And I feel that there's a few people in my field right now who are brilliant, who I would love to see so much more of, and they're kind of walking through the same territory. So I thought it would be cool to talk about that, and what it's like to, kind of just break out of that shell, because that's what it feels like to me. It feels like being kind of in this space of safety, and if I don't share my message too far and wide, then I won't have backlash. I won't have any juxtapose viewpoints and opinions and all of that. And I think on some level we know that that's going to occur, because it's not possible to please absolutely everyone all the time. But I wanted to speak to what it's like to do that and start doing that, to start coming out, start sharing your truth with the world, and some of the things that we have to shift and evolve through as we do that, because it brings up quite a bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was like my number one struggle, so to speak, that I felt like had the most emotional charge, I guess I would say, to break out of and break free. And still to this day, I mean, I'm nowhere near 100% expression capacity, I don't know if I could even handle that, honestly.
I know. I often think too, like if the people in our environment could fully handle that.
No.
And to fully unleash in that way, it's really powerful. And it actually reminds me a lot of artists when they're in their creative expression, when they're performing, and what that's like for them to fully unleash and let that flow just stream through them, and what a gift it is for all of us when we get to witness and experience that. I mean, I know when I started the podcast back at the beginning of 2017, that was a good kind of shoe-in, because I wasn't on video, and so it was less intimidating for me. I still had some degree of privacy in that, and then they kept saying, just, you need to be on video, you need to get out there, you need to express, you need to share more. And it was exciting and terrifying at the same time, especially when I started doing solo live videos, because all my stuff came up, all my self-worth issues, all of my self-doubts. I mean, I remember posting a video and then thinking, like hearing even and feeling all the different perceptions come in around the way that what I was saying could be perceived, or the context that it was taken in, and even sometimes when it was taken out of context because of where somebody else's perception was, and how deeply they were able to see and experience me and what it was that I was sharing. And all of that started flooding through, and I would remember posting, and then for an hour or two I would just go into, should I keep it up, should I take it down? And I would feel, I would think about all the different ways I could have reworded things, and the different tones that I could have used, and all of that. And it was all just me judging my own expression. And when I started to line up with myself and just kind of say, fuck it, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to put this out here, I'm going to be as authentic and vulnerable as I can, and give all of me, the good days, the bad, the all of it, and just allow it to be what it is, because that was part of the messaging too, is that unconditional love, unconditionality, which means unconditional self-love and fierce compassion in a lot of those instances. And I call it fierce compassion because sometimes we're called to show up in different ways that might not be socially acceptable or socially standard. And it's tough to move through all of that. And so it's having fierce self-compassion and going, I'm going to own myself. I'm going to claim myself fully. as I am called to show up in this moment. And hopefully, by virtue of doing that, it inspires other people to do the same thing, to be in their full authentic truth, and to know that it's safe and okay to do that, and to stay aligned with yourself, because that is so integral to so many of the other integrations that we go through. Because as we start to show up in the rawness of that, in the fullness of that, we start to integrate so rapidly and so quickly, and the transformations that we're seeking to evolve into start to happen a lot more quickly too. And it's just an integral part of the process of unfolding. And we all go through it. We all go through it. And whether we do it in private or we do it publicly, you know, we're still experiencing that. I mean, just by virtue of the world that we were born into, there's already this preset conditioning and these judgments and attachments that we have to kind of blaze through in a lot of ways. And at some certain point, you just have to decide to line up with yourself and to unconditionally love yourself. And that even in the moments when we're not expressing from the open heart, there's still compassion in that, because it's teaching other people, or it's exemplifying to other people that, like, the realness of the human journey, and that there's a compassion in that to say, I'm loving myself this fiercely. Here is an opportunity or a permission slip for you to do the same thing. And it's so backwards, it's in a lot of ways, from what we're taught, which is that unconditional love expresses in a very certain way. And I always get brought back to the example of, like, if I had a child and they were about to run out into the street, you know, like, would I just be like, oh, you know, I'm just going to go let them do that. I'm going to, like, let them learn in their own. No, I'm going to grab their hand and I'm going to pull them back on the street, or I'm going to get their attention in whatever way I can to help them become more alert, more aware, more awakened to the fact that there's cars racing by, and I'm not just going to let them run into the street. And so that even came with some of the ways that, like, because there's certain points that I'm called to channel softly, gently, with, like, wide open heart, full connectivity, full presence, and it's just really open and expanded. And there's other moments when it's just pure fire and it's really empowered, and it's that fierce, dark goddess Kali energy, and it serves a purpose too. And its purpose is to cut through all of the paradigms that don't allow us to be free, to be liberated in our full expression of self. And sometimes that's what it takes. It just takes that cutting through. And that takes some power. It takes some life force to kind of just go, this is what unconditional love really is. It is unconditional. There's no conditions. That means really, truly recognizing the beauty and the purpose in everything, all expressions and aspects of self, because we are all of it. There's nothing in creation that is separate from itself. So even the things that we see in the world that are often commonly judged as bad or wrong or evil, or things that need to be changed and transformed so that we can live in this utopian society, the deeper wisdom that is accessible in that is being able to accept it exactly for what it is. And then you can choose for yourself if you want to partake in certain things or choose certain things in your own experience. But it's still all source. It's still all an expression of source. So the liberation is in the unconditional acceptance of the raw expression of the energy as it is, you know. And we've alluded to nature with this so many times, about lightning and rainbows and butterflies and thunder and tsunamis and all of that, and how all of these are just really raw, natural expressions of source energy, and they all serve a palpable, important, sacred purpose in the ecosystem of consciousness and creativity and awakening. And I mean, everything that we have to say in every moment, everything that we have to express is serving its own unique purpose, whether it's directly in the lives of the people that we're involved with, or indirectly through a message that we're sharing to a larger audience. And it's just so imperative to trust that, to trust how that's showing up from moment to moment to moment to moment, and to know that that's going to shift and change in different situations, on different days, on different moments, depending on what is required. And even if it reaches one person, then it's serving its function. It's meant to be transmitted exactly as it's coming through and showing up for us. So, yeah, that's what I got right now.
I like couldn't agree with you more. 100%. I love that we're talking about this because I even still to this day, still today, like literally today, find myself having to move past judgments that pop in my head based on um, who I identify myself as now and the way I'm still called to express myself.
Mm.
I've always, since I was a little girl, been very uh, artistic and have like really identified with that culture or um, that identity of self-expression. And that was what I mean. And it, like I said, it's still something I literally consciously focus on moving past every single day because it is so extremely important to me to express myself, express my art, my creativity, my individuality. And like I said, am I operating near full capacity? By no means. There are plenty of ways where I still, because rather than crawling out of the shell and breaking out of that, which I have experienced. Mm-hmm. Now I feel I'm just growing into it. I'm growing into the awakening and the opening of sharing all parts of my expression with all parts of my world, because I think a lot of people can identify with this. I always found a way to express those parts, but it was all very separated. You know, like I could be this person with these people. I could dress like this tonight. I could do and say this tonight. This part of my personality can come out tonight, or like, you know, but I kept them very separate. I kept everything very compartmentalized. Mm-hmm. I go do my thing over here and then I move on. Then I go over here and I move on. And that ties into my story I had created for myself, and what I think a lot of people like you and I can relate to of experiencing growing up, just feeling very disconnected, feeling alone, feeling isolated, feeling like you just don't fit in here, so to speak. So you kind of create this compartmentalized world as a way to work with that storyline. And I have since challenged myself and focused so much on breaking free of that storyline, of sharing all parts of myself with all people who are in my life, with all arenas of my life. And it's still something I'm growing into. It's still something, but I will say it is such an integral, important piece of who you are to make sure you are unleashing all of that energy all of the time and not impeding it or judging it, because it is such a direct reflection of what you're able to receive in your life. I mean, when I'm especially now more and more with the energies we're in, like we could get away with some stuff maybe 5 years ago, but not today. And that unconscious will come out and play and you know, find a way for what it is you want to come out. And I was thinking two things earlier today and last night that really align with this topic. And one thing I was thinking was the fact that the big vision I have for my life, the big things I'm calling in, that the just total shift. Yeah, it does feel clean and easy and streamlined to an extent, but what I've come to realize is I don't receive that result or that effect unless I'm letting myself be messy and be, you know, all of the emotions, all of the expressions, all of the everything. And like, it's not, I think there's part of us that think we must emulate the result exactly how it is or how we want it to happen.
Yeah. good.
But you get what I'm saying? Do you?
That's so good. I get exactly what you're saying. God, I love you.
Yeah, yeah, and that, I mean, that just came to me recently because there's some walls I've been coming up against, and it's like,
Mhm.
that's the thing. I get it. I really have to just be my messy, wild, unleashed, emotional, this, that, creative, crazy, whoever I am today is not who I am tomorrow, being in order to receive that ease and that alignment and that flow and those clean
Mhm.
environments and that, not, I mean, I don't mean like literally like I live in a clean environment, but just that feeling, that vibration of like luxury and futurism, and just
Ah,
that comes from me sometimes being what I would perceive the exact opposite of that. Like I'm not, I think part of me tried to siphon myself into that box of being to get that, and it wasn't going anywhere. And so I wanted to bring that up. And I also wanted to bring up, because my biggest thing nowadays has been just allowing myself to still be who I really am, regardless of the fact that I've identified myself now as spiritual or awake. And so I kind of was overhearing a conversation with some, I wouldn't call them awake people by any means. And I thought, instead of spiritual, they would probably just call me extremely hedonistic. And maybe that's what I should roll with now. Like maybe that's a good thing.
uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, hedonism has its own gifts. I mean, I think especially when it's balanced, it's all that novelty and pleasure, and that's what we're here to experience, really, the joy of being alive, the joy of being creators, all the different novelties and pleasures that we have to experience in this body, in this life that we're here living, and to just allow ourselves to open to that without all the rules and the constrictions and the limitations and the self-judgments. And I want to clarify this for those who might not have caught what Jen was saying about living in the result. The perfected, non-dual, enlightened, heart-opened, yogi, master, guru, sagacious energy all the time, and to just wait to express ourselves until we're in that place, because the feeling of that, the frequency of that, the experience of amazement and wonder and awe and magic comes through the wild abandon, the freedom, the crazy, just the free flowing self, and all the selves that we are, and from moment to moment. So like when we were doing I'm going to call it a mini activation because it was just so mild compared to the activations I do the other day, where I was just trying to break up that patterning, because at a certain point there is no identification of self, there is no belief structure, there is none of that. Nothing is fixed, nothing is solid, everything is open and fluid, and I'm seeing it like pixels. Like if you're to break down the pixelation on a photo or something, or a movie, a motion graphic, and you see all the different pixels, it's like that. We are all of those different aspects of self, and we're constantly shifting millions of billions of trillions of times per second. Just even in our physical body, we're transforming constantly. Our cells are constantly disintegrating and integrating, ongoing, constantly. So trying to hold on to a fixed pattern, a fixed identification, and then being hard on ourselves when it's like we're in this utopian state of bliss, and then we shift into something else. It's a lot more primal and wild and uninhibited. And then we're like, oh, well, why couldn't I sustain that? And something must be wrong with me, and I need to figure out how to master that state of being. Mastery is in the fluidity, the water-like nature of the transformation, of the expression of self, and the non-resistance to it. The non-resistance to, in this moment, I desire to have this experience, and then 10 minutes from now, I have a desire to experience a whole nother desire or expression of self. And those things don't always look anywhere near the same. Sometimes it is that yogic master energy, and sometimes it's that wild, free, primal, sexual, desirous, lusty, tantric, and it just shifts and it evolves and it moves. And so there's so much magic in being in the natural, organic expression of that. And that was a huge lesson for me to learn when and for me it was, and I love that you spoke to growing into, because that's what it is. Like for me, it was first, it literally felt like, and me and Zoe had a session and it was so beautiful. She's like, you've got all this fierce energy and all this passion and all this, just, she's like, it's like an ocean, and it's just it wants to pour out of you, but there's this, and I see you in there like, oh, why can't I just get it out? Why can't I let it out? Why do I feel confined? And it was the weight of all of the voices that I could hear, all of the self-judgments that I had created, all of the fixed conditioning that I had around what a spiritual person expresses, like what an effective person expresses, like what a leader expresses, like all of this. And then I just, it was just, literally for me, it was just blazing through those layers and just allowing all of that just shit that had built up to like fly off. And I just, and I kept breaking free more and more and more. And it feels like a deepening, a wealth, a richness of being that is emerging from that is coming through, that allows me to tap into the richer parts of all of those different expressions. Because first it was just like an onslaught of unevolved ego. Because I want to clarify too, you're not going to get rid of your ego in this lifetime. So if that is a goal of yours, I would highly suggest that you set that down. Because without an ego, you wouldn't exist in a human body. You're going to identify with certain things from moment to moment to moment. And by identify, I don't mean becoming attached to the thing that you're experiencing, but you're going to I'll use an example of my own journey, and the way that shows up for me is there's certain moments when, like right now, it's just like magical and witchy and shamanistic and grounded and wise and powerful and queen. Like all of those words, those archetypes help me to ground into what's asking to come through me now at this point in my life. Like that really seductive enchantress, empowered, self-sufficient, solid. It just all of those energies that are coming through me at this time, but then those are all going to shift and change like almost on a daily basis. With at least one of those changes, it's like, okay, cool, I integrated that, I grounded that in. Now I'm on to this expression that's grounding in and integrating. And it's so fluid and it's so transient. And the beauty is that we are all of those things. We're all of those things. And there's going to be certain points when we're going to be called to really deepen into and ground into some of those parts of ourselves more than others. A big lesson for me in my life has been awareness, stark awareness, paying attention, because I would go into things with my my capacity for love sometimes scares me. Sometimes it feels like, how am I going to contain this energy, this passion, this fire that I have to love? And I would be called into scenarios with people who needed it the most. And that's where I needed to integrate the most too. So it was beautiful, but it was intense and it was catastrophic. It was passionate and fiery and enlivening and electric going in. And then it was catastrophic coming out, because the intensity of my love for those beings would grow so rich and so deep. And I couldn't figure a way to help them give that to themselves. And so my lesson in that was to give that to myself fiercely, powerfully, and to be aware when other beings weren't in the space to either receive me in that way or give that to me or have that reciprocity. And I got hurt in a lot of ways for doing that. So I've had to ground in some of the darker aspects of my expression, the powerful, and even they're saying self-protective. And not to a point where it's like you build these walls, but just out of discernment and out of wisdom and out of intuition and knowingness of where all the other different expressions are at that you're dancing with and playing with and creating with. And so with the ego part, the ego just helps us to express, to be, to allow ourselves to pull some of those identifications of self through. We wouldn't even be able to interface with the world if we didn't have an ego. It's what helps us to individuate. It's what gives us individuated expression and different identifications of self at different points in time, whenever they're called for, needed, required. But the ego is what helps us actually interface without being in that non-dual, interconnected, one united. And I mean, we are that now, but we're not experiencing the fullness of that. And for anyone who's had a non-dual experience, you know what I'm speaking to. You're pure light. You're connected in that, and there's absolute weightlessness because you're so utterly present in all other aspects of consciousness in their full embodied beingness are supporting all other aspects of creation. So you're just living in that connected state of presence constantly. But we're not here having that experience right now. We're having the individuated experience, and the ego is what allows us to do that. For me to show up as Solara, and for you to show up as Jen, and for all of us to show up as who we are in this experience. Yeah, and just like for me, the aliveness, the freedom, the beauty is in honoring all of those aspects. And a huge lesson for me with the deepness of that love that I feel was, can I give that to the aspects of creation that society normally judges? And I have always just been drawn to those people. Even when I was growing up, I always was attracting like atheists, like people who were like, no, I don't believe in any kind of expanded power or anything like that. And I would just love them. And that's all that I was there to do, was just love them and be like, that's okay. That's all right. You can believe or choose whatever you want to. And my capacity for that was just so strong and so powerful. But with that, I got myself into a lot of situations that were just heartbreaking and devastating and painful, because I realized that not everybody else had the capacity to give that to me in return. And I still, like, there was still part of me that wanted, and I still do, like, that's a standard in my life for that reciprocity to be there. And if it's not, then I usually don't partake up to a certain degree, because I realize that there's like give and take there that's very valuable and important to me. But I had to learn that the hard way, because that expression of love, and this ties back into expression, where I just wanted everyone to love each other and get along and respect each other and all of that. And man, it was some hard-won wisdom to understand that that's not the way the world works, and that's not where freedom is. Freedom is not in creating the external utopia, it's creating the internal utopia by accepting the isness of all of the expressions of source energy, however they may show up. And especially now with all the different alien intelligences and creative intelligences and spiritual intelligences that are coming onto our planet. There's more alien life form on this planet right now than there has ever been, than there are human life forms on this planet. And that's why we have this supernatural society that we've created, the infinity circle, because there's infinite expressions of self, of source creative energy, and the beauty, and like we are here to help you draw that out and to align with those parts of yourself, because they're powerful, they're creative, they're beckoning you to express them on the canvas of life. You know, give us your art, give it. And they're saying right now, it's, and I realize this too, when we talk about stepping out of your own way, getting out of your own way, they told me, like, you might not agree with your full expression, but we're calling this energy through you for a very specific reason. And we want you to trust that. And it is your divine responsibility now to express the energy as it is showing up in you, because it is serving a function, is serving a purpose. And that blew my mind. And it actually made it so much easier for me to take my own judgments off of the ways that I was expressing and showing up, because there were moments when I needed to stand my ground and stand in my power and stand in my truth, when I was being taken advantage of, and where I was allowing myself to be taken advantage of. And those powerful energies, those assertive energies, were really detrimental in a lot of those situations. And if I had just been, and I did, and that's why I learned that. There were several scenarios in my life where I didn't let myself express that, because I was so afraid to hurt the other person's feelings, or to be unliked or not received, or to turn people off or to turn them away. And eventually I was like, the people who love me unconditionally are going to be there, and they're going to show up, and they do very powerfully. You and it's just a whole slew of other people who are strong, integral, embodied leaders who are in this energy that we're talking about right now. And I realized the people who were going to be there were going to be there. They were going to be faithful, and they were going to be loyal, and they were going to love all of me. And there's so many times where you have been there for me through all of this, and you have just been like, be fierce, be raw, be bold, be in your power, be in your expression. And it has really helped me to transform and grow and evolve in such powerful ways that that wasn't there when I was still having so many conditions on myself. I was drawing in other people who were placing conditions on me too. And that all started to shift and realign. And it was profound because I realized when I aligned to myself, when I love myself unconditionally, all the people in my world start to too. And a whole new group of people came in, a whole new group of supporters, a whole new group of allies. And everything about my life expanded. My income expanded. The opportunities I was aligning to expanded. The leaders and the people I was aligning to expanded. The people I was serving expanded. And so it didn't matter anymore. And I realized there's an infinite amount of other people who are going to support. And you're not ever going to please everybody. You're just not, because we're here to help one another awaken. Sometimes you're going to be a catalyst and a trigger, and sometimes you're going to be an open, soft space to land. And you've got to just get comfortable with that and be okay with that. And it's all serving. It's all serving the awakening process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the other important thing to bring up too, is you being in your fullest self-expression is serving. Like, I just still feel so many of you with the guilt or the bad, or, well, if I'm this, I can't be that, or whatever. None of that is real. None of that is spiritual. None of that is you. None of that is that keeps you from being able to even have the understanding of what you're really worth, is what they're saying. And you having the understanding and the perception of how you being in your fullest expression is serving. You know, I know that when I'm in my fullest expression, and let's say like today, this evening with what I planned, I will be in this expression, and I'm so excited about it because I haven't let myself go there in a while. But I'm going to be being very wild and very free, and I'm going to be looked at with, you know, jaws open, and I'm really going to be bringing other people's judgments of themselves to the surface. And I like that. I like that. Not because I want people to feel bad, but because I want them to release. I want them to evolve. And you know, you were talking earlier about the kind, like how you attracted atheists, and I was thinking, for myself, I've always, even during my days when I was so extremely, I'll say it like this, one-dimensional, so extremely just in my box and not fully expressing myself, I always attracted people who are even more trapped, because I'm like a breath of fresh air to them. I'm like just having a conversation with me helps them realize and understand, like, just so many different things, and be able to just break out of the box in like extreme ways that they haven't been able to do for their whole lives, or 10 years, or whatever. But it's the same thing for me, is I have a boundary with those people now. I know that I'm an attraction magnet for individuals like that, but I have a strong boundary, because as I grow into my own self-expression more and more, into sharing that, my tolerance for inauthenticity and lack of honesty, and just watching you betray yourself and then try to be that in front of me, like that's you, I want to throw up in my mouth. I mean, I'm even thinking about, and I've been struggling with this all week, because I have a very dear friend of mine who I haven't been able to be with in the way that I normally would want to, because I know when I'm going to be with him, I'm about to unleash on his lack of being his true, authentic self. The shell, I can't take it anymore. And for a while, where we are in our relationship, it just really wasn't my place to say. I wasn't ready to say, but now it's I can't have that bond or that relationship with you, or hold space for you. It's just going to be, that's what it is. It's disrespect. It's you know, it's beyond the self-trust and the self-worth issue. It's just a pure lack of respect for who you are as a human being, when you don't allow yourself to express yourself fully. And that means let's say you wake up out of bed one day and all of a sudden you want to empty out your entire closet and you just want to be a witch and you've like never even thought about that before. You have to do it. I mean, I know I shouldn't say you have to or this or that. I'm saying it. You have to do it if you want your life to expand and manifest in the way that you want it to.
Oh yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
can talk about this for hours. The other thing I want to bring up too, and this ties into the infinity circle. This ties into the more I'll call it spiritual technology. I think that's the term I'll use right now. We speak so much about light codes and light language and all of this stuff. And I've been getting downloaded with something recently, and I'm sure you have too. And last night I finally grounded it in where I understood it and saw it fully. And I was getting downloaded with what we're calling it, the dark codes, the other side. And it's still light, but it's so raw and colorful and powerful. It's much different than the light codes that we're always talking about. And so, I mean, I literally just laid in bed. I got like no sleep last night because I couldn't shut it off. I just couldn't not be in that world and that environment that was flowing through me. And so that, I mean, that's something that we're going to be expressing and teaching and bringing out of you in the infinity circle and helping you unleash that side of your energetic mastery and your capabilities as well. So I know you're probably tapping into it too. And I just had to bring that up of like, because if you think about so much of what we've talked about lately is how spirituality is not just this like, it's not just white, it's not just light, it's not just sitting up on top of the mountain and yada, yada, yada. There's all of these other energies to it. And I kind of pondered that last week. I'm like, okay, well, why are we just downloaded with light language? Why is there just light codes? Why is there just this, you know, where's the photo? Where's the whole picture of all of these energies? And it's not like I haven't tapped into them before, but I just haven't been fully aware of or able to recognize them because I've had that filter on a little bit.
So this is very beautiful. I'm so thankful that you're bringing this up. And what they're saying too is the dark uncodes too to give it some kind of, because it's destruction energy, it is disintegration energy, it is nothingness, it is meaninglessness, it is emptiness, it is spaciousness. And this is what the light is birthed from. It is the womb, the eternal womb of creation, of pure beingness, silence, darkness. And that is what everything, I mean, this whole projection, this whole projected simulation of light that we are living in comes from that space. And so it's crucial to, even within the context of like the potential in our cells, it is much more empty spaciousness than it is actual light. And so to balance that in the potential is what enables us to utilize and express our full potential. And this is about going into the spaces of emptiness, nothingness, non-identification with self, non-identification with form, and then reemerging with the expression and the creativity and the light codes and the everything else that comes through that womb, where that nurturance happens, where the receptivity happens, where we get charged. There's so much power. Oh God. There's so much power and there's so much depth and wisdom and substance that comes from the darkness. And you know, somebody recently sent out an email and she was talking about, if you want to get familiar with your unconscious, she said, go to a cemetery at nighttime alone when it's dark outside and see what comes up for you. And I thought that was brilliant because it's so simple and it's so like, how are you in the darkness? How are you with those aspects of creation, those aspects of source energy, because they are source energy. There's nothing that exists outside of source energy. How are you within those? What does that bring up in you? And so right now I'm feeling like the fear, the anxiousness, the nervousness, the the withdraw energy, the separation energy, because that's kind of what starts to come when you start to get annihilated. And I say annihilated because all of the conditioning is what gets annihilated. That's really like another way to express separation, or the mind that tries to take you out of the now by creating a story that may or may not be true. In that, like, what people would consider like the devil or evil energy, that's just that separation. That's that conditioning. All it is conditioning, the conditions that we place on ourselves and one another, the stories that we create around what things mean. And so that dark energy will take you, and this is the gift of the darkness. This is the gift of Donald Trump on the world stage at the front of humanity, going, look at your shadow, look at your darkness, integrate it, love it, accept it, embrace it, recognize that all of that exists within you too. The gift in that is because it will decondition and just absolutely annihilate everything that you ever thought to be true, so that you can become a fully integrated, free functioning human being on this planet. It will take down all of your identifications, all of your judgments, all of your attachments. It'll bring up all of your stuff that you have around self-worth and abandonment, and it'll bring it all up for integration, for it'll help you to unleash and unlock all of that power for those parts of yourself that you've been suppressing and repressing for so long because of the judgments and the conditioning that you've placed on top of them, on top of yourself. And it is ultimately what helps you to break free and integrate. And actually, a lot of that is tied into sexual shame for a lot of people, the sexual creative life force energy. And if it's not that, it's like, this is how human beings should show up. This is what enlightened beings look like and how they show up. And I want to make a distinction here. And I love, I was talking to somebody about this the other evening. Jed, what is his name? I listened to him. Terrence McKenna. So Jed McKenna brings up that there's a difference between spiritual enlightenment and non-dual enlightenment, and how the spiritual enlightenment is so much what we're experiencing in the human body when you decide to jump back into duality, to play the game, to have fun, to have a dualistic experience, to experience the fullness of what life has to offer. And you recognize that you are all of it. You are the lightness and the darkness and all the full spectrum. You are the full spectrum, everything in between, the negative polarity and the positive polarity. And non-duality is the timelessness that exists outside of that. And the spiritual enlightenment comes in the full integration of all of that, and allowing yourself to play and shift through all of those different forms and expressions in different moments, whatever they may be. And they're so useful in different moments. And I love how I'm going to reverse. This is what we're talking about, like allowing yourself to like ride that wave and flow with that stream, is when you're talking about not showing up in your full expression, in your full truth, whatever that looks like in the moment, and how that is a way that it is a form of self-respect, of a lack of self-worth, of dishonor to ourselves and to others too, because when we hold that back, we're doing a disservice to other people that may very well need to hear the exact thing that we have to say, but we hold it in and we suppress it. And there's a point in my journey where I drew a hard boundary with that. Like there's some beautiful beings on this planet and I'm like, okay, well, you go figure that out. And I trust that you have everything that you need inside of you to do that, to go through life and to figure that out. And there were certain things that I just didn't want to participate in anymore. And that was one of them. And I won't give fully of the substance and the depth and the beauty that I have within me to those who cannot receive and reciprocate that level of experience. Because it becomes draining. You know, I want to see into you. I want you to open and allow the connection and the relationship and the friendship or the intimacy to go there, to go that deep, to get that raw, to be that real, because there's so much wisdom and intelligence in that. And those are the experiences that I want to have with people. And like the glossy, fake, not real. And you, especially if you are psychic or an empath, you can see it anyways. So then it's like a double whammy of disrespect,
right?
Because you can see it anyways, and there's just a part of you like. But then there's also the aspect of recognizing that being is in fear and they're unconscious to that, and they don't even fully grasp that they're doing it. They're not even fully aware that they're doing it or why they're doing it or how to break free from it and all of that. And that's where the softer side of that compassion comes in. But the more fierce side for me is like, okay, well, I'm just going to let you go and have that. And I don't feel a need to change you. I don't feel a need to accommodate you either. I don't feel a need to be liked by everybody, validated by everyone. The most important thing is that I am validating myself, loving and honoring myself, and having that really deep connection with those who can show up with that same level of authenticity and transparency, and give of their full expression. That was a huge lesson for me, letting go and detaching from, and my whole everything shifted. I'm so used to being liked, so used to being all of that stuff. And I mean, I still feel like I'm very well received, but there have been a handful of people in this past year who've just been like, what is she doing? Like, what is that? What, and not knowing how to handle it or not knowing how to receive it, and all it setting off all of their trigger points too. And all of the things that energy that was coming through me was there to activate and catalyze. And I had to let go of losing some people and transitioning some things. And this whole new freaking amazing world opened up, and it always does. I think trusting that too. Some things are going to disintegrate and fall away, and there's going to be new things that are built and things that are, when you align to yourself and you make that your devotion, your commitment to being true to you, to your authentic expression, understanding the purpose that it serves, and you honor that and you respect that and you value that, you're going to start creating some connections that are deep, that are true, that are long lasting, that are durable, that are sustainable, that are real. I mean, that's how a foundation is built, on realness, on truth, on honesty. The other stuff, there's not a solid foundation to even go on there. And that's a huge reason of why I don't even participate in that anymore. It's like, I don't want that. I want what's solid. I want what's durable. I want what's got growth potential that's going to be utilized and activated and built upon and expanded upon, not, yeah. And that's where that foundation starts, with that honesty and that, and holding that space for each other to be in that and to go through all of the emergences.
And what I'm picking up on a little bit and just hearing from whoever's going to be watching this or is watching this is just for us to give you a call to, it's like there's a fear of fully expressing yourself because there might not be somebody there to receive that. There might not be anybody to connect with you with that. And I'm telling you, because that was a huge part of my story as well. But if we're gonna go, we'll go logical with it, because we've heard the other side of it over and over and over again. The human body has an electromagnetic field. You will literally magnetize those into your reality who will connect with you on that deeper level, or who will connect with you as you being all parts of you, or that next level, full, raw, real, powerful expression. It's automatic. You don't have to rework the system or rewire yourself. All you got to do is let it out. It's just energy. You will have other individuals to connect with you, and they're telling me you'll be proud of yourself for doing so, because that connection is so much more deep and real and truthful and meaningful with somebody when you're standing with yourself, connecting to all of yourself, that you won't even care about the connections you lost, because they won't even feel like they were connections anymore.
Yes, that is a beautiful, exactly. As you grow and change and transform, in hindsight, you'll really realize the depth that you weren't experiencing in those situations when that comes forth. And also, they're saying when the music changes, so does the dance. So think of your electromagnetic field as its own kind of song, its own symphony. And when you change the song, the dance, your whole reality changes too. And there's a certain point in that integration process too, where you just don't care anymore what other people think. Because it's so imperative to line up with yourself and to love yourself fully. That's a first step for all of us here, is to have that, because you can't truly give that unconditional love away in its fullness to another being unless you have that for yourself. And so there will always be a limitation on the love that you can give and receive until you give that to you. And that's just a part of the journey. You know, you've got to go there. You've got to go there. And it doesn't matter anymore, because your power starts to arise from the depth of love that you have for you, yourself as a creative source being. And then within the context of that, you're going to magnetize other people who respect and value you at that level, and who can meet you there, who are operating there already, who are already playing in that resonance, in that field. And it's just ongoing. They're showing me like the cycles of creation, the spiral. You're just spiraling in and out of different realities, and you're going to line up to people and beings and experiences that match that resonance. So there's always going to be that transformation that's happening, things dissolving, things being rebuilt, and it's always happening simultaneously. And it's happening in the human body. Those calibrations, that rewiring is happening ongoing, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you want it to or not. Like, that's why in certain moments, and it seems like our whole world shifts in a snap of the fingers, bat of an eye, because your soul is ready for that, and it knows, okay, this is what needs to dissolve, and this is what needs to rebirth, and this is the fastest way to get you there. This is the most efficient way. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything bad. You made a choice from somewhere deep in your being to experience life in a new way. And so the universe expedited that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And those can be really intense. Like, I think of the lightning path, right, that we have both walked. It's just like an intense, it's literally like a lightning bolt coming in and stripping you bare of all of the things that you truly don't want to experience anymore, so that you can shift and evolve and experience those realities that are filled with the magic and the freedom and the love and the expression and the rawness and the vulnerability and the connection and depth and passion that is available to you. And so then, you know, within the context of that, all of the things that aren't resonant with that will dissolve or be phased out of your experience. And that's beautiful, because that means you're being aligned with more truth, more of what you actually want to experience, more desire. And they're saying, especially for those of us who make big, bold requests and are not inhibited with that and don't limit ourselves, that's why we go through, because that's why. And we're going to speak to us right now. We had big, bold requests. I mean, I remember saying, like, powerfully, palpably doing an invocation on the beaches of, no, I wasn't in Hawaii when I did that one. I was in Mexico when I did that one. And I said, I want to release all of my fear, and I want to experience an enlightened state of being. I want to know fully what that really is, because I knew that there was a missing link. It wasn't just those sporadic moments of bliss and holding that space. I knew there was something more. And boy, did I get that request answered in the most expedited way. 1 year, the most wild ride of my entire life. So much was birth, so much abundance, so much beauty, so much magic, and so much death, so much dissolution, so much disintegration, so much intensity and darkness, and like wild passion that I've never experienced before. And just, it was everything. I experienced so much of everything within the context of that. I mean, you think about it's simple, but that was a bold statement and a bold request. What do you know? And I knew, I mean, I've done this enough times. I knew it wasn't going to be all rainbows and unicorns. And I think, and sometimes even in our expression, we try to bring it across that way. Yeah. Or we're trying to strive for that. And that's not what the freedom is in the acceptance of all of it. And we've got to go there with ourselves first to be able to really be there for others in that way, to hold space for others in that way, and to really find the beauty in all of it. Like, I mean, that's a huge part of my journey too, has been beauty and like sensuality, like sensual sense perception, sensual creative expression. And when those people would be magnetized into my life, I found it intriguing and fascinating and beautiful that's like that darker energy, and I realized that how rare that is. And I'm sure how rare it is for them to experience that, and when I recognize how trapped they must have been feeling in their internal world, because they live in a world where it's not accepted. They live in a world where it's not seen or valued or appreciated and honored, because so many beings haven't met those parts of themselves yet. And it doesn't speak to whether or not that energy is beautiful or valued or significant. It's just how much of others met themselves in those spaces.
Right. Right. Exactly. And I just feel like that's like, if we should be talking about anything right now as far as expansion and evolving and enlightenment, it's this stuff. It's this stuff right here. Because how many people do you still, I mean, everything's accelerating. Look at our technology, look at our ideas, look at our inventions, look at the breakdowns and the destruction. Like, everything's accelerating, and yet you still see the majority of people walking around the street, walking wherever you are, stuck in that monotony that is just one thing, that is so not who they are. And you know, think about why marriages don't last. Think about why people cheat on one another. Think about why all these scandals of people come out. Think about why people have midlife crises, or they die really early because they manifest a disease inside of their system, or whatever. You know, these are just some examples that I'm sure have probably touched the lives of most of these viewers in one way or another. But it's all because people are too afraid to manifest their potential. They're too afraid to express who they truly are. Like, this is not the 1600s. We are not all stuck in the Catholic Church. We are not going to be hung and crucified anymore. And plenty of beautiful examples already out there of people really being bold and raw and real and brazen to a very extreme extent. So it's not like we don't know what it looks like, and it's not like we don't know whether or not we'll be okay if we go there. It's just time to start being all of who you really are. And I'm saying that to myself included, because I still, as we're having this conversation, am thinking of, well, how much of myself do I kind of hold back from sharing with you all and with my community, because it's not that cookie cutter spiritual, or it's not this side of myself, or it's to this or it's to that. And that's so not my true nature. I mean, that's just so not who I am. And so part of energy mastery is letting your energy flow to its fullest extent, because it's like having a musical instrument, but you can't play all of the notes. And it's available, but it just needs a tune-up, or it just needs the keys done, or something like that. And that's the same for energetic mastery and energetic mechanics and energetic intelligence, and instantly manifesting like that. I was just tuning into myself the other day, because there's this piece of me that's kind of been missing a little bit this year. There's this piece of me that always, I love to be bold, I love to be brazen, I love to be rebellious, I love to push the buttons, I love to do what I am not supposed to do, I love to be just all out there and letting it all out there in a number of different ways. And I haven't been this year, and that's because I have been going through some like major integrations and just really shifting into a whole different being. And I thought that I had to let that go, and now it's starting to come back, and I'm just realizing why am I holding back? And that's something I want all of you to ask yourself every single day. The other thing too, if something's not manifesting quick enough for you, or you're stuck with something, or you're not feeling that passionate or excited about the thing that you thought you really were, I guarantee it's because in another area that it doesn't even seem like they're related, you're holding back. And if you just let yourself go there in that area, it'll all just shift automatically, 100%.
I can't wait for you. I tell you this all the time. I mean, you're so powerful. You are so powerful and intergalactic, and you have, I love seeing you in that space, fully aligned to yourself. No, and I get like this with just so many people too, and that self-doubt and that worry just fades away, and there's no more questioning who you truly are, because that is your gift. I mean, magic is not something that we create. So think of, energy cannot be created or destroyed truly. And I know we use this language sometimes because it's somewhat the limitations of the language that we speak with, but it's just always transforming. It's fluid, it's malleable, it's changeable, but it's not ever going to be created or transformed. It's just shifting and moving. Magic is something that you are. It is the fluid, it's fluid presence, it's fluid beingness, it's fluid expression of self in all of its glory and all of its beauty and all of its power. And that's what awakening looks like. It's like dusting, wiping your eyes when you wake up, and just like dusting off the fog and letting yourself emerge and come out. And what keeps coming through is creative emergence. It's like consciousness is like shaking itself off, and it's getting up, and it's like, wow, I'm here, I'm alive, let's play, let's do this. And the reason why you and I are so passionate about this too is that this is this awakening that's happening, and it's just only going to accelerate. And so you have to hop on board. You have to hop on board with the fluidity of the energy, of the motion, because that's what's happening. It's just a speeding up of motion, of expansion. And at a certain point, like you can't not be fluid. It would just be too, it'd be too heavy is what they're saying. It would be too heavy and restrictive to not be fluid in this. So to let yourself be fluid and let yourself express. And the one thing, this is about awakening and remembering who we truly are. This is what the passion is that we have in sharing this. This is about waking up and remembering who you are, so that you can play, so that you can create, and so that you can live freely in this experience, so that you can activate and actualize and utilize your full potential to create the life that you want. I mean, think about how many people go through their entire life not knowing who they are, living somebody else's dream, living somebody else's reality, following along with what their family did or what their friends think, or all of that. But what about what you're here to gift the world? What about your expression, your dreams, your desires? That is the gift. And so this is about awakening to that. And you can, there's always going to be some degree of limitation on that until you remember that you are the creator, that you remember who you are. So when we get really fierce and empowered about this, it's because there's a desire for you to plug into, tap into that pure source energy and source consciousness, because there's so much revelation there for you. There's so much information and wisdom and intelligence and knowledge that is going to activate you and help you to remember who you are, so that you can create and be free. Be fully free at every level in this experience. Free in your expression, free in your abundance, free in, creating the relationships and the connections and the passion and the magic that you want in this life. I mean, that's what this is about, is that, and knowing that there's no limitations to that. There's no standards or rules or structures that you have to follow, because at this level of creation, this degree of freedom, you are creating your own reality at every single level. At every single level. You don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. You don't have to fear it. You don't have to, there's no rules. You are the creator. You're assigning meaning and value to everything in your experience. You're phasing things in and you're phasing things out. It's just so palpable and expansive. And that's all that it is, a continual fluid expansion. That's what I see that energetic mastery is living in the fluid expansion. There's no more walls, there's no more hard set fixed structures. Even spirituality is evolving. Like, I looked at some of the spirituality that we've been circulating. They're saying ancient traditions are ready to evolve. And I keep getting taken back to ancient Egypt and the pyramids and all of the technology they had available, and how that's resurfacing and that's coming out, because it's an infusion of all that we've known, and bringing that like the spiritual technology that we are back into that, and realizing that even we all live in our own universe here. Hey, like, even there's somebody else who's living in a universe or a world that's doom and gloom and just separation and fear and anxiety, and there's somebody else who's living in an open, expansive, magical, abundant world that's filled with wonder and possibility. That's all happening now. We're all existing simultaneously in our own different universes. And so that's the piece of this we want you to understand, is that you can create your reality, your universe, in the exact way that you want. And those other realities will cease to exist in your picture. You won't even experience them anymore, because you won't be living on that earth. You won't be living in that universe anymore. So instead of looking at, we're all on this one earth, this one planet, and we've got to change the world, shift out of that entirely, because that's not the way that this is. This is many multi-universes, multi-dimensional, infinite universes existing simultaneously. That's the beauty of this. This is, even in the context of the planet that we live on.
Yeah.
Really get that, integrate that. And because I hear some people going like, well, no, but we're all connected, and we're all on one planet, and this is all affecting everything. Are you experiencing a lot of that stuff? Even the stuff that you see going through your news feed sometimes, you're not experiencing that. It's not directly present in your reality. You're not manifesting that, because you are operating from a completely different space, a completely different resonance, a completely different song is unfolding in your life. And so realize the power and the potential in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And on the other side of that, I'm seeing where that's where it's important, and that's why it's so beautiful that so many people are starting to share their experiences of awakening, because or just expressing themselves more fully, because it's opening up so many more people to experience and play in all these different worlds, all of these different universes, all of these different vibrations that they have been, they didn't know existed, that they didn't know how to tap into, that they didn't even know they were missing out on. Yeah. God.
What they're saying right now, and this is, oh, I'm sorry, you're cutting out.
Go ahead.
Wait, were you saying something?
No, I was done.
Because you totally cut out. Oh, okay, cool. I'm like, I just want to make sure, because then I heard you say something. I don't want to, yeah. You know how it goes with us sometimes. We get moving and grooving. This is a profound recognition to have. You don't change the world by trying to change and fix the world. That will never work. It will just only confine and restrict you more, because you're trying to accommodate 7 billion people. You change the world by aligning to yourself fully in creating your own universe. Yeah. You change the world by co-creating your own.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody co-creating their own world in alignment with their truth, their authentic expression, their own creativity. That is how the world changes. Yes. It does not change by going out here and trying to. That's exhausting. I've played that game for a long time. Yep. And it's exhausting.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like a black hole. Just done anywhere. Yep.
Yeah. There was so much. That was a huge letting go for me. That was a huge, we'll call it a death, but it was a huge transformation for me, was letting that go, because that was always my mission. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. To show up and make the world a better place, a loving place, or this or that or the other, which inherently in that, I was saying the world's not enough. The world needs to change. The world's not perfect just how it is. The world's not this, the world's not. It was a lack mentality. And I don't think that often we get that. We associate that with that. And that's a lack mentality that exists within ourselves. I'm not enough. I need to change. I need to express differently. It's just all that reflection. And so for me, it was just like this profound awareness that I had to let that go and do what was true to me, so that I could come alive, so that I could feel fully, so that I could experience life fully, so I could be happy and utilize my time in this body and this now with the people that I loved and that I enjoyed. And as we all do that, we awaken new worlds, we awaken new possibilities, we awaken new magic and beauty and truth and creative expression and all of that. And that's how the world shifts. It starts here. And that's beautiful, because how wonderful. You are only responsible for you. And eventually, I mean, you're never, ever, ever going to be responsible for saving, changing, fixing anyone else, nor should you want to. But it's interesting. Some people will say that I don't have a desire to change anyone else. I don't have a desire to change the world. But simultaneously sitting next to that is, how do we create a better world? How do we create it's in the acceptance, one, that that's not your job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Acceptance of self, full honoring of self. You change you love you align to you express you. That's how you create transformation on the external.
Mm-hmm.
We know this.
Mm-hmm.
We know this. This is not new information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now it's just time to do it, to be it, to let ourselves be fully free and wild. And I mean, I know that that's when I have the most impact in other people's lives, when I just show up with my magical pixie fairy lovey self, and I just am wild and free and uninhibited and in my full open expression. And when I don't do that, it's a disservice to the people around me. And so recognizing that too, to bring you back to, like, your expression is a divine responsibility. Just do it. Just do it. Just get up there and start doing it. And yeah, you're going to fumble. You're going to fall sometimes. You're going to feel unfucking comfortable. You're going to feel all the self-doubt and worry come up, and the fear and all of that. And you're also going to feel free and wild and naked with life. All of that is going to come with it too. But you're going to have to shift through some things. And that's just what's really real. And that's okay. It's part of the journey and the transformation and unfolding. And if you're fortunate, like we have been, to have amazing people in your life who see that you're emerging and want to support you in that, let them be there for each other. This is the beauty of community. Mm-hmm. This is the absolute beauty of true community, mm-hmm. is being able to be there with one another as we go through these transformations and learning how to just break free, be wild, claim yourself, express yourself. The ones who are going to love you and be there for you are going to love there and be there for you. And the ones who don't, won't. And what a gift. What a gift. I would rather know that and allow that to happen than to try to hold on to something that's not authentic and real anyways. Mm-hmm. Let those transformations happen, because you're going to line up with your allies, your true allies. Mm-hmm. And there's no greater gift than that, because those are your mainstays. It's profound. Ah, man. Yeah. So much.
Exactly. I'm just like, it's the moral of the story. It's the meaning of life. I mean, that's when you eliminate the fight. That's when it's like, that's when you've won.
Yes, you eliminate the war in here, yeah. And it eliminates the war out here. You don't fight yourself anymore. You don't resist yourself. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what your expression looks like. And you and I have talked about this too. There's times when I've wanted to just unleash in certain ways, and I didn't want to because I was afraid that my reality couldn't handle it. It's like, so what? Maybe it's time to expand into a new reality. And maybe you doing that is also okay. And you've just created a story that your reality can't handle it. Right. Maybe your reality can handle it. Maybe you doing that helps to awaken the other players in your reality. Right. And that's actually what happened.
Yeah, and that is what happens. Because, again, I mean, what we already know, you are your own universe, you are your own world, you are your own reality. So the minute you do that, anything that you didn't think was possible is 100% possible. Anybody you didn't think would change will 100% change. It's all you. It's all you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Embody the paradox too, is what they're saying. Let yourself embody the paradox. You live in a world of duality and non-duality. We live in a world of light and dark. We live in a world of, like, just let yourself embody the paradox that you are. Mm-hmm. All of the aspects, the desire to change, the acceptance and the beingness with the all of it that is, as it is. Just let yourself embody the fluidity of all of those truths, all of those realities, and love them unconditionally. Take your story off of what it means. Yeah. Just let it be. Yeah. Let it be. Dance. Just dance.
Just dance.
Ah, I love you. I'm so grateful for you.
Oh my God, I know.
And before we hop off, because I was doing an activation for you last night, I just want to just, oh God, I love when you're in your full expression. Just be there, stay there, go there, please. Please let your feisty, sassy, powerful, because you're just so powerful. And I love it.
Thank you.
And I celebrate it and just, yes, bring it.
And vice versa. You when you're just raw and you're just bold and you just let that tigress come out to play. And you go where you didn't think you were allowed to go. You say what you didn't think that you could. Anything. And I love it. And I love just how this is a huge part of
play.
It's a huge part of why we created the Infinity Circle, is so that everybody can have this same experience with one another on just a grander scale of just completely, constantly back and forth, play, dance, sing, empower each other, release, express, and it's just this like non-stop spiral,
Yeah, and when you take all that resistance off, it's pure play and all of its beautiful expressions, and instant creation starts to happen because you're in your fluid. You're just fluid. Fluid. You have a fluid stream of life force coursing through, and that life force, the non-physical energy, is what brings all form into being, into the physical. So you've got that open and fluid. You've got all that resistance off. I mean, that's what we're there to empower too, is to get all that resistance off so that you can be in the unconditionality of that fluid expression and have your creation show up for you instantaneously. Miracles are a way of life. They're natural, they're normal, they're organic. You should be experiencing them all the time. Yeah. They're everywhere all the time. This is about opening up the perception to see them. And when you have that much life force coursing through you, your perception naturally expands and you can see what's already there, and you can see all the potentials and see all the possibilities. And you just start to open up to seeing more of you, more of all that's already currently there that you couldn't see before. And things start to land instantaneously. You start to say yes to life, and it's just accelerated, delicious, juicy, substance-rich creation.
And effortless.
And yes, effortless. It's natural. It's a natural state of being. So good. So good. We love you guys.
Love you all.
Yeah, thank you for hanging out and tuning in. We will see you back here on Monday. We hope that you have a fabulous, amazing, heartgasmic weekend. That's my favorite word at the moment.
Love it.
Yeah, just enjoy your life. Go play. Create.
Liberate. Yeah,
I like that. Okay, I love you, Jen. I'm sure we'll connect this weekend. Have fun.
You.
Yes. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.